We begin the second hour of Friday's Morning Focus with Dara Calleary, the Minister for Social Protection. He has announced that An Post has been awarded the new cash payment services contract, securing over-the-counter welfare payments at post offices until at least 2028, with the possibility of a 12-month extension on top of that. Now, around 30% of social protection payments are still made in cash, with An Post expected to handle roughly 25 million payments this year. However, after months of concern about post office closures, particularly in rural areas, is this contract the lifeline post offices were hoping for, or is it just a short-term fix? Well, I've been chatting about this with the Fianna Fáil Councillor Tom O'Callaghan from Clarecastle, the spokesperson for the Independent Postmasters Union as well. Tom, good morning to you.
Yeah, great to be here, Alan. Good to see you.
And I'd imagine great to be here speaking about something positive connected to post offices for once, Tom. An Post, as Minister Calleary confirmed, securing the new cash payment services contract. Is this contract the lifeline or saviour, in inverted commas, the post offices, particularly rural ones, have been crying out for?
Well, do you know what? I think after the Christmas and we've all had the turkeys and all the decorations are down, isn't it nice to sit back and try to reflect and say, well, what has been achieved? And I can say this with my hand on my heart. This is a positive story, and I think it's important, even though I did say you're Fianna Fáil, but I have to give credit to Don and Sinn Féin, Joe and Fine Gael, Cahill, outstanding, our Minister Timmy. They've all worked collectively with me, and this is right across the board. So this is really what I call a stopgap. It's to keep the network trading, and to me that's a positive situation right now.
Okay, and just on that, I might get you, for people who've heard, An Post has secured the new cash payment services contract. What exactly will that mean? Can you just explain a bit more detail, Tom, and why you believe it is a stopgap? It's not the be-all and end-all in terms of a cure for post offices.
Well, I suppose realistically this is really the government giving an endorsement. You see, we have the largest network in the whole country. We're in every village and town right across. It's one, I suppose, is the harp over the door, is people trust. And, really without this business, it certainly wouldn't survive. And you said, what does this mean? It means that we can continue serving the lovely pensioners that come into our offices right across the country every Friday, and people on social welfare and with disabilities and children's allowance. And really what it does is that we were at a stage at one, if you recall, go back there about maybe 24 months, that AIB, for an example, were going to close down their branches. They were trying to save costs, and there was outrage straight away because the state were an investor within the bank, and we all know that stakeholder, and they had to pull back because of the backlash. Without again that happening, and with the pressure that I and other postmasters and in the financial sector put on government, they actually made it now as in legally bound that you have to provide cash within our country. And what that means is, and I think it's crucially important, you have the option. If you want to go online, that's your business, that's your right. But if you want to deal with the old pound notes, used to say years ago, you should be given that right. And that is what is secured for now. And that keeps people coming to the post offices at the moment, which is a positive.
And around 30% of welfare payments are still made in cash. So I guess how critical is that footfall to the survival of local post offices?
There would be widespread closures. And I think really people would know that I like to do the matter of fact of where we are. If when I first highlighted that the network had an issue, that was back in 2013, and then I did a nationwide campaign, and I know we've laughed at this inside this here in previous interviews as such, in that when I went into the up to Dublin, the minute the TD would see you, they'd run the other way. Oh my God, it's time again about the post office. And what I was trying to say was that if we do not come up with a viable model, we're going to look at closures. Now let's look at the facts. And now I highlight that in 2013. Since 2015, we have lost 266 post offices in village and towns right across the country. And I always come back, and of course being biased, our own county, County Clare. We have lost 8 post offices in rural, and we have 1 in urban. The most recent one we all recall is the one in Market Street in Ennis. So the government is now aware that, look, the current model is not stacking up in its own right. So we're going to have to look at a long-term solution economically and get those products that the public want. Now, to do that, you have to secure the government contract. So what the government have done, they've endorsed the post office network. They're going to support it by ensuring that contract stays within the post office. And that gives us some bit of stability until, I think, it's 2008 that they're talking about, 28. But if we go back to 2015, at the time we had management of An Post saying we don't need a subsidy from government. Because of the significant lobbying, because of the support right across the country, especially, and I'm going to say this again, I'm very proud of Clare County Council because all councillors at the time, they backed what I was trying to put forward, and right across nationally, all postmasters have embraced, and we are now in a situation, we now have a government that's prepared to sit up and say, we want the network to be sustainable. And to do that, government has to come on board, and by that they've secured this contract for the next number of years, and that gives us that bit of time plus a 15 million subsidy that's going to ensure the viability of what I keep coming back to, most important, is the rural post office.
And as you mentioned, the contract runs until the end of 2028 with a possible 1-year extension. Do you feel that's a long enough period, time frame, Tom, to give postmasters confidence about the future? I'm sure a longer term commitment would have been preferable, but this is the next best option. Does it give enough breathing space for a more concrete, longer term plan to be developed and implemented for post offices?
If we didn't get it, the figures I have just given, which is quite stark, let's go back to that again. Since 2015 to 2025, we've lost 266 post offices. I'm telling you that would be double in the next number of years again, which is a further erosion of what we call a real Ireland, or small, whether it's urban or whether it's rural. Now, to be able to counteract that, we need to come up with products that the public want. Now, and again, I'm not being critical, knocking people that don't come to the post office, but you have to understand, they have the option of, buying online, they have the option of getting their banking online, they don't have to go into a post office. But if we want to maintain an infrastructure, and we're in a world about fake news, who do we trust anymore? Thankfully, we do trust you, Alan.
I was thinking, if he doesn't say it, I'm going to have to jump in here and defend myself.
Well, I'm a big supporter of the local radio. It's very important because we need people that are democratic, being able to give their voice, give their view and have those debates. But if we do not do that, if we don't look at the situation of the network in our towns and villages, it will be gone. And to do that, and again, a new concept, and many, and I'm not again being sexist here, but many of our ladies, because I have to say majority of our ladies have now got onto this vintage where you can buy and sell online. And I can tell you that our offices have increased footfall because of that. And that's a typical example where it's a benefit to the local community, benefit to people at home, and we're maintaining activity within the sites. So we need to put ourselves in that mindset. And to do that, we'll have a thriving network. But can't be done without government.
I mean, look, we're talking about positives for the post office in terms of money, the welfare payments, as you said, and my wife would be no exception here, using Vintage, so that's been great for post offices. But I suppose the less tangible, less concrete in terms of money aspects of why post offices are crucial, which we've discussed before, Tom, just for as a social hub for people to meet up, for older members of the community, particularly those who mightn't have many people around them. This is a topic touched on at Christmas, that can heighten that sense of isolation and loneliness. Having a post office to go to meet someone, to have your daily chats, is crucial, and is maybe less quantifiable than welfare payments and so on, but it is no less important.
Well, I suppose let's be a real example of it. Today I'm on my other job, and my other job is as a public representative, right? And I have been all day today going around to different businesses asking how has trade been. Farmers, I've been talking to farmers about the Morrissey deal. That's a different issue, but it's a very good one that we're now saying no, and I've said that very adamant. And then you talk about, footpaths and roads. But I got a phone call in the middle of all that today from a member of my team inside Limit to tell me that Michael O'D, and I've no problem with saying Michael O'D in his name, has passed away. And my team were upset. And I was upset. That's what the post office represents. We actually do care. And you're absolutely correct. As we get older, the reality of this is we now become that, in a situation we need to be cared for. We need to have that social interaction. Loneliness is an awful thing. Depression is an awful thing. I watch people coming into my office now on a Monday, and, they've had hard times. They've had social problems. They have addiction problems. I had another person, again, and this was yesterday, come into me, and she said, a different person, because she was away for 3 months. I said, where were you? So she was getting help. So without that social interaction, if it's gone, it's gone. And it took an awful long time. And this is part of the reason that I'm in politics and others in politics. But you have to get into your mindset. It takes time, Alan. Yeah. Keep in mind, in 2013, I had highlighted this problem was coming. We're now at a stage where 266 of those communities have actually lost their local post office. Like, I am upset that we've lost our office in Cree. I'm upset Doonbeg. I'm upset in Lissycasey, because to me, they're communities. My own home, my mum and dad is from Ballinacally, and I go back there and they have a lovely little coffee shop, and they're, trying to create economic activity, trying to get a social hub, and then in the middle of it all, they lost their office. So I would hope, this is an example of, we now need to address it and maybe open post offices in the future. Let's focus on those focal points. But number one priority is, it's not all about money. It's about the people. And I think if this was ever an example of people first, is your community local post office. And I think that there are products that are there. I mentioned about the farming community. Like, there's farmers that need overdraft facilities. Why can't we be in a position to offer 3% loans? I look at people buying homes. We've spoke about this before. There are models out there, but unfortunately it does take time. So the fact that, we can see the crisis was there. Finally, the government has now acknowledged it. It's now grouply supported. I think we're in a better place.
Is reliance on state contracts like this enough to sustain the post office network, though, Tom? Or do post offices still need a fundamentally new operating model? And perhaps that'll be one of the benefits of this contract running up until either the end of 2028, or if the extension is implemented 2029, does it give enough breathing room to come up with a new operating model?
This is going to take radical thinking. I always think of, when you have a room of people and you have one person that will speak up, and just because a person speaks up, whoever, male or female, and gives an opinion, and because the rest of the room thinks that person is on the wrong track, that doesn't make that person wrong. Maybe at some stage we sit back and we have a real look at this. The point I keep coming back to is, we have products right now that people use. In our post office at the moment, we have banking, AIB and Bank of Ireland. But what I suppose kills Tom O'Callaghan, and the reality of it is 2.2 billion is transacted within the post office. But out of that, only 3 million goes back to postmasters, which works out about €50 a month on average for the income of a postmaster. That's not a viable model. We look at other countries then and we see New Zealand, and again, to reiterate, same amount of post office, they create 100 million, but the difference is profit.
And that's their community bank model, which you've discussed the benefits of here before, and have said we should replicate that.
Well, I think it's awareness. I think that the young people, and again, they'll be the future politicians of this country, we're planting the seed. If you want to take down a windscreen, you hit a chip in a corner. The model is there. It's all about getting everybody on the same page, and it's about creating a better, fair economy. Why do we as a country sit back and allow the big massive banks take all those billions? Why are we doing that to ourselves? We have services we have to take care of. We have our elderly, we just spoke about. We have our daycare centres. We have our churches. We have our playgrounds. We have our lighting. I'm sitting with councillors and we're fighting for money for roads. So we have to protect ourselves first. And the answer to that is, it's a radical way forward that benefits the people. Because again, if we look at the models, and I give Germany as an example, in Germany, only 12% of their banking system is owned by pillar banks. In our country, it's 90%. So I hope, Alan, in time, like I've said in 2013, I'm hoping in the next 10 years, by 2035, we'll have that model of banking within our post office network, and we're protecting the people we want in our community.
You have mentioned just finally, Tom, that you're no stranger to the corridors of Leinster House, so much so to the point that some TDs will be running the other way when they see you coming. But will you be continuing to lobby or discuss with the government to go down this route to secure the future of post offices long term? Minister Calleary, this is great news, he is in your party. Will you be speaking to party members and government to try and get across the seriousness of this and to explore that route to secure the long term future of post offices?
I think it's important is that there's a respect there, and now we have gained that respect on both sides. And I think it's not knocking a government or anyone in government for that reason. I'm very fortunate, like as I just said there, we have a very working government right now, and there are solutions being brought forward. But to achieve and to get the result we want is we need to be realists. You were right in saying at the moment we now have that social welfare contract. The reality of this, that is actually going to decrease because more and more people are using banking online. And the way the model works, to simplify, for every time you go into a post office, you get one product. So a postmaster does not get a salary. They get paid per transaction. So the less transactions you do, and I keep saying this, that this contract is going to depreciate over the next number of years. The basically network won't be viable. So we need to radically change of how we can actually do business going forward. There are ways, and I believe very strongly that we'll get there, and it's awareness from everyone. But I want to say this very importantly. I'm very proud of Clare County Council, my fellow councillors. At all times, full support. When no other council in the country was backing the proposals that we were putting forward, they did. And I can stand by that. And I think that that is what representation is. Put the people first, and I think we'll get there.
There you go. Starting the new year by giving the council credit and members of other parties as well. That's Tom O'Callaghan's New Year's resolution. Tom, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan.